Hey guys, my name is Sam and I'm a peer leader with the CMHA. Today we're going to be focusing on another session in our Coping with Stress series, focused more around people who are most vulnerable to stress. So last week we focused more on self-care ideas and techniques on how to cope with stress. Today we're going to take a look at those who are most vulnerable to stress and next steps. Next week, we're going to focus more closely on how different age groups respond to stress and how to identify symptoms of stress for that age group and what you can do to help. So who is most vulnerable? So everybody can be vulnerable to stress. Those with mental health conditions or those who are struggling with addictions can be more vulnerable to the effects of stress due to a variety of different reasons. So those who are managing an addiction. So an individual who is under the influence may not be in the right mindset to make healthy decisions and follow healthy coping techniques. So this could lead to even more stressful situations. And stress itself can be a really big risk factor for initiating substance use to begin with. And being exposed to chronic stress, especially over time, can aid in furthering an addiction, which could cause relapse, and it may lead to treatment failure as well. So those who are managing poor mental health. For those who are managing poor mental health, so when they're introduced to a stressor, the individual may be starting on a poor mental health foundation versus somebody else who may be starting on a positive mental health foundation. So what I mean by that when I say that is that imagine you're in a car or on a bike and you're trying to go uphill. Now, the person who has positive mental health foundation, they have perfectly sunny day, it's a dry road, very easy to grip. Now the person who may be having a poor mental health foundation may be experiencing a snowy or an icy road. And now both of these scenarios, you're both going uphill, and that uphill could be considered the stressor. But both are starting on different platforms. The ground is a little bit different, and some people can be a little bit more vulnerable. Some people can be a little bit, it could be a little bit harder for some people to get up that hill, whereas for somebody who's already starting out on a very positive mental health foundation, it may be easy for them to reach the top of that hill. Now, as well, some individuals with poor mental health or depression, when confronted with stress or a stressful task or situation, they may have no drive to handle the situation or do the task. And as well, some individuals with anxieties may try to avoid the situation or task completely, which can raise stress levels and potentially set you back because it may be a task that you have to complete. There's certain things in life that we have to do, and when we have those anxieties around what we have to do, it ends up tending to kind of get in that little cycle again. I have to do it, but my anxieties are starting, but the stress is building because you have to do it, and now your anxiety is building because of that stress, and it's a constant cycle. So trying to cope with that stress, or even trying to cope with some of the anxiety that you're feeling and throwing some techniques in with that may be able to help you get past that point just enough to be able to complete that task and continue moving forward. So those who lack coping skills, not all, but some individuals may have a hard time coping with stress. So children, those with certain disabilities, or those who are just generally unfamiliar with, may have a harder time coping with stress because they may lack the taught skills or knowledge of coping techniques to be able to better manage stress. So stress left untreated can turn into chronic stress with chronic symptoms, as we had talked about in one of our past sessions. And the thing is techniques and skills are not things that you're born with. They're usually taught or learned. So if you want to learn, the best places to start are video sessions like this one, books, parents, teachers, therapists, friends, anybody really. So let's chat. You can talk to me, talk to people in the comments, look up videos. YouTube is a really great platform for looking up certain coping skills and having somebody be able to explain that if that's how you best learn. Maybe you best learn by reading in a book. Pick up whatever you're good at and take a shot at just learning what is going to work for you. There's going to be a lot of trial and error. but definitely the best thing to do is just try to learn. Seek out the best ways that you learn and try to find something in that area. A book about coping with stress, or a book about maybe anxiety, or a video about depression, and try to watch them or try to read them, interact with them, and just learn. Everybody learns. Everybody starts down at the bottom, and we all have to learn and cope with these things. And by learning these things, you're allowing yourself to move forward and be more comfortable with them. So for children, you may have to help them learn a little bit, because not all children at certain ages can read these really strong books. Not all children know how to go on and look up videos that are going to be beneficial. So you may have to help them learn, and taking the time to teach the children in your life some techniques that you've learned will definitely help them better manage stress in their own future. So some days may be easier than others, and that's okay. You know, everybody has their uphill battles, everybody's going to have their stressors, and some days, you know, it's just going to be a little bit too tough, and that's okay. Some days are going to be really easy. It's just like the 4 seasons. When I was talking about driving uphill, one, you know, is going to be a really snowy road, and the other one's going to be a dry, sunny road. Now, on all your seasons, you're going to have different things that happen on that road. Maybe you're going to have some rain, maybe you're going to have some snow or ice, or it's going to be perfectly fine, or it's going to have some dirt or gravel on it, and all of these things can affect your ability to move up that hill. But each one affects you a little bit differently. At the end of the day, though, as long as you have a few good days to try to get you a bit further up that hill, and you keep working towards it, that's the most important thing. As long as you don't give up and you're still working towards it, that's what's most important in these uphill battles. So how can those managing get help? So understanding your mental health or addiction and acknowledging it is a really big first step in moving forwards. And knowing what works for you, you know, trial and error, maybe finding that book or finding that video that works for you, or maybe it doesn't work for you and moving on to something else. It definitely is a really big step in kind of figuring out how to manage what's going on. And not everything's going to work for you, but there's going to be something that does. So keep looking, don't give up, and just keep at it with that trial and error. Another way is trying to cope with poor mental health can help you cope with stressors around you and vice versa. So when you have a poor mental health foundation and you also have stressors, like I was talking about earlier, it can cause kind of that loop or that circle that just keeps happening. It just keeps circling around. So one of the ways that you can try to break that cycle is either you have 2 choices. Either you can try to manage more of your mental health, or you can try to manage more of your stressors. So it's going to be very much based on what environment you're in, what those stressors are. There's a lot of different things that are going to be unique to you that help you make this decision. And talking it out with somebody is a really great way to figure out, you know, which one do you try to cope with first. If it's an environment stressor and you know that you can change that environment, maybe that's what you work towards, is changing the environment, because that's going to be a little bit easier than maybe managing your mental health at that point. Maybe if you can't change your environment, but you can maybe speak to somebody about getting some sort of medication or a therapy or something like that, and you feel like that's the easier step for you, definitely going towards that instead. It's definitely going to be unique to yourself and the individual, but trying to find which side of that you can cope with a little bit easier at that time. Maybe it's a little bit from both, but what you're trying to do is you're just trying to lessen it on either one or both sides, just enough to kind of break that constant cycle. Another thing is just by practicing coping and self-care techniques to redirect your attention to healthy activities. So one of the things that I spoke about in one of my last sessions was talking about how chronic stress can actually be a cause of somebody getting into unhealthy habits, which could become an addiction. And when you are practicing these coping and self-care techniques, you can redirect your attention to healthy activities like self-care, or maybe every time you feel like you need a cigarette, you decide to redirect it to coloring. It could be anything, as long as it's a healthy activity, and trying to figure out what works best for you as a replacement, that may be an option for you as well. So another way to getting help with managing everything that's going on with stress or with your mental health or your addictions, you can connect with organizations. There's a lot of organizations out there that focus on addiction. There's a lot of organizations out there that focus on mental health, and there's some that focus on both at the same time. So definitely, you know, go online, search up what's local to your area, search up, you know, mental health supports or addiction supports near me, and you're going to be able to go through, read up on some of these websites and just see, you know, what works best for me, what's closest, or what do I need, because the person who knows you best is going to be you. And I mean, you guys can always come, if you're in Oxford County, you guys can come and talk to us at CMHA Oxford, our peer support email, and you guys can call our office. So I'll have that contact information at the end and also above in the description. The last one here on this list is talking to a doctor. So having a doctor is a really good thing to have if you can get one. And a lot of people find that having a doctor with them along that journey is helpful because they're able to kind of monitor it from the start to finish. This may not be something that you want, but it may be something that works for the next person. So it's definitely an option that's out there, and I do recommend it to anybody who's kind of on the fence. Definitely giving it a shot and just trying and speaking to a doctor or a walk-in clinic, and going in and just having that first conversation about getting help with some of the addictions or mental health needs that you may have, or even just simply coping with stress and not knowing where to go from there, or what coping techniques or how to handle the whole situation. So that's definitely a good step that I would recommend to anybody who has been thinking about it or who may not have thought about that as an option before. So the power of talking. Talking to people can be really overwhelming, but it can also be a very good tool to utilize. So a few things here that the power of talking can help you with is that when you say things out loud, it helps you slow down your thoughts. And when you say things out loud, it can help your brain perceive the message twice. So you're thinking it in your head, you know, it can be going 100 miles per minute, but when you force yourself to say it out loud, it allows yourself to kind of slow them down and hear the message twice. You've already heard it once in your brain, but now you're hearing it again. You're actually hearing the words out loud, and hopefully, you know, that's going to make you understand the words that you're saying a little bit better. It's going to give you a little bit more time to process, and you're going to be able to process them twice because you're thinking them and you're saying them out loud, which means you're going to have to think about them again, but a little bit slower that time. Another thing is that talking can give you a feeling of unloading weight, or kind of taking that weight off your chest or your shoulders, and removing heavy words. So it may feel like you're sharing that load with another person, and that may be what some people need, just to talk to somebody, to take a little bit of that weight off their chest, off their shoulders, just to give them a second to breathe, recoup, and get going again. That may work for some people, it may not work for other people, but it is a part of talking to people, and that's something that can happen. Another thing is when you share what you're feeling, it can feel freeing. You know, you're not alone, and it may feel like somebody finally just understands what's going on in your head. You know, maybe this person, you feel like they share your perspective or your point of view, and that can be really reassuring to know that you're not alone and that somebody understands what you're going through, or even if they don't have the full understanding of what you're going through, they're at least trying. And I think that that can give people a sense of, you know, belonging and knowing that there's somebody there on their side to help them through it. Here at the CMHA, if you want to get in contact with our peer team, we definitely can be somebody to listen to some of your needs and some of your situations. So if you feel like, you know, talking is the way to go for you, chatting with somebody, please feel free to reach out to us. We are always welcoming people to just come and chat. So for today's question, we have, what techniques have you been using to cope with stress? Let us know down in the comments. Have you been using self-care? Have you tried the trouble tree? Have any of them been working for you? Or if you find that some of them haven't been, what's your next steps? So just kind of get a little bit creative down in the comments. Let's hear what you've been doing and see if you have any creative ways that you've come up with, or maybe there's something that maybe another person in the comments hasn't thought of before. So I definitely will urge you guys to put down what techniques, what coping strategies, what sort of self-care have you been using to cope with stress lately. So for our daily challenge today, my daily challenge is to talk to somebody, whether it be a friend, a family member. It could be over a video chat, it could be over the phone. It could be 6 feet apart. We're doing social distancing right now, but that doesn't mean that we have to cut off all communication. And if you feel like you're struggling right now, or you feel like you're stressed, just take a moment today and talk to somebody. It doesn't have to be too long. It can be 3, 4, 5 minutes, just saying hello to somebody, just having a little bit of that communication. And if you're feeling brave, talk to them about how you're feeling and see if maybe they have something that could help you. A lot of people have had their own experiences, and a lot of people can offer some form of advice, and it's definitely up to you whether you take that advice or you leave it. But it is very good to have those pieces of information given to you, because it's something that you can add to your book in case you ever do need to use it. So today's challenge, talk to somebody, call somebody, Zoom chat them, whatever you need to do, just chat with somebody today, and hopefully that goes over well for you guys. So once again, on how to reach me, like I said, you guys can reach me in the comments below. So comment your questions or your answers down in the comments, and talk with your Facebook neighbors. So if you see somebody else down in the comments, feel free to say hello. Maybe use that as your way to chat with somebody today and completing that challenge. You can also reach me directly at my email, which is samanthaboland@cmhaoxford.on.ca, or you can reach me by phone, which is 519-539-8317 at extension 262. So this is going to automatically redirect you to a voicemail answering machine. So just leave me a message and request a call back from me. Leave your first and last name, your number, and just a preferred time to reach you at, morning, afternoon, night. I am only available during my regular work hours, which are 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. And I cannot guarantee an immediate response, unfortunately. Some responses may take a day or two, but I will get back to you at some point. So if you do have any immediate mental health needs, please call, reach out. They're a 24/7 crisis line at 1-866-933-2023, and that's just for any immediate mental health needs. And you can also, if you don't feel comfortable talking on the phone, you can web chat them as well at their website. And as always, just dial 911 if you have any emergencies. So I'd just like to say thank you to all who have been joining us and watching these sessions up until this point. I really hope that this has been helping you guys in some way or another. And if it has been, or if you want to give me some feedback even, please give me an email, let me know. I really encourage you guys to reach out and say hello. And next week we're going to be focusing on our stress by age groups, talking about how children cope with stress, teenagers, adults, and things like that. So don't forget to join us next Friday for our next session, and I hope to see you guys there at the next session. Thank you so much for joining today. Have a good day, folks.